Mobile City Council, Tuesday, March 17th. Please stand for our invocation led by Reverend James Murphy, Mount Pleasant Baptist Church, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's bow our eyes closed. Eternal God, our Father, we say thank you for another day's journey. Thank you for your goodness, your mercy, your loving kindness. Thank you for all things as well as they are right now. We ask now, God, that you would look in on us as we gather here in this room to do your will, your work, and the business of this city. We ask now for your wisdom, your knowledge, and your understanding to help us guide and lead and direct your people in the right way. We ask all blessings in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank God. Thank God.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. President Manzi, Vice President Small,
Here.
Councilmember Richardson,
here.
Councilmember Williams,
Here.
Councilmember Daves,
Here.
Councilmember Rich, Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Hey, good morning,
Good morning.
and happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. On the statements of rule, turn off all electronic devices before or upon entering the meeting. Any person desiring to address the council must sign in indicating the resolution, ordinance, appeal, or public hearing agenda item before entering the meeting. When addressing the council, the speaker must state his or her name and address. Any person desiring to speak to the council on a non-agenda item must contact the city clerk office no later than 2:00 p.m. on the Thursday prior to the council meeting. The subject he or she wishes to address must be identified and pertain to City of Mobile business. Any person who has not given proper notice to the city clerk office and wishes to speak on a non-agenda item would not be allowed to address the council. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes to address the council. A bell will sound to indicate the end of 4 minutes. 1 minute remains for summarizing. The second bell indicates the time has expired. When addressing the council, there will be no personal address to any individual council members. All statements are to be made to the chair, who will recognize any council member who wishes to respond. To maintain decorum, there will be no undue applause and or public outcry allowed. Also this morning, as you can already tell, we are doing things a bit different going forward. While we are focusing on keeping city government operating as smoothly as possible, we are making a number of changes based on recommendation from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. With this, we aim to keep our city employees and citizens healthy and safe. First, as of right now, we are holding both our pre-conference and our regular meetings here in the auditorium to allow us more room so that everyone can keep a reasonable distance. We are also limiting attendance to our meetings and also ask if anyone attending, again, to keep a reasonable distance from each other. We especially urge anyone who is sick, feels sick, has a family member who is sick, or is in part of a vulnerable population to please stay at home. Rather than attend in person, citizens and interest parties can follow live stream of the meeting available at cityofmobile.org, our best stream. This link is also available on our council Facebook page. Starting next week, we are suspending any in-person presentation, pensions, and other communication for 30 days. For now, citizens can also email public comments, which will be acknowledged at received during the meeting, distributed to the council members, and included in the meeting minutes. These comments can be sent to our city clerk at cityofmobile.org up to 30 minutes prior to the meeting. Madam Clerk.
Approval of minutes of March 12th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed?
Communications from the mayor.
Mr. Vice President, the mayor has had to step out for just a minute. Perhaps you could indulge him speaking when he returns.
Absolutely.
David Clark.
Good morning, Mr. Vice President. I wanted to introduce Emily Gonzalez, our Vice President of Marketing Communications, for an update of how our partners and stakeholders can get a little more visibility to what they're doing and what they may not be doing. So, Emily?
Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me today. Visit Mobile is absolutely a major part of not only the tourism industry, but the community as a whole. We are charged with bringing visitors into the community, but while we're going through this pandemic and this very uncharted territories, it's important that we do all we can to support the businesses that are staying open. On our page on the website, mobile.org, we are posting daily updates on things that are happening throughout the city, on recommendations from various health officials, both nationally and locally. So please feel free to go there to see anything that you may need to know. An additional resource that we're doing, we've already implemented it, and it will continue to grow as we get more information. We have a standing list of events that have been canceled and events that have been postponed. As soon as we learn about the events that have been postponed, we post those dates. Otherwise, we just say that it's postponed with the original date, so you know where to go and how to find that event once it gets rescheduled. We don't want to lose those events. They're just moving into the future when it's safe for people to come and travel and gather again. In addition to that, we have a list of businesses that are modifying their day-to-day activities and those that are temporarily closing. We're posting dates that they anticipate to reopen, and also dates that if we don't know, we just say we don't know, and it's until further notice, and as soon as we know, then we will update that as well. For restaurants and things of the nature that are still opening but accepting people, we would like to make sure that we are letting people know what is open, where it is safe to go, where they can go and enjoy and support the community while still partaking in social distancing. If a restaurant is just doing drive-through services or curbside services, we want to make sure that our local citizens know where they can go to support and still stay safe, to protect not only the restaurateurs but also themselves. I'm here to ask that if you hear of anything, if you know of any cancellations or postponements, if you have any businesses that have adjusted hours of operations, if you have an hour earlier in the day that you allow the elderly to come through once shelves have been restocked and things have been freshly sanitized, please let us know. Our website, again, is mobile.org. If you want to send us information, if any of the business owners hear of this and you want to share this with your constituents, please do so. They can reach us on any of our social media handles by just direct messaging us, or they can email us at info@mobile.org. So we're very, very clear about how to reach us, info@mobile.org, or any social media handle.
Any commentary from the council?
Just that really appreciate what you all are doing. We discussed this at our pre-conference meeting because there are some retailers who are allowing only seniors to come in for an hour in the morning. We may see more of that. And a lot of restaurants are doing curbside or delivery, those kinds of things to make sure that they are able to keep their doors open. Grocery stores that deliver, you can order online, stop and pick it up, or some just absolutely will deliver straight to your house. So there is a lot of that, and we just want to make sure that everybody knows what's available to them. So thank you for being our kind of our clearinghouse.
We're happy to do it. As you all know, you've heard before many times, there's over 17,000 hospitality workers in our city, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to help them sustain. Our major focus will be on recovery in the future as soon as the veil lifts and we're given the green light, but right now we want to make sure that we're doing all in our power to help sustain and protect our citizens that are here now.
Great, thank you.
Anything else from the council? I would like to add, if possible, if you all could maybe create a flyer PDF and share with our city clerk that we can put into our newsletters and also on our Facebook page. Because again, everybody don't live stream our meetings, but everybody is on Facebook, Twitter, and also we can share with our electronic newsletter. And if you can supply that to our city clerk.
Consider it done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank y'all for much of y'all hard work.
Mayor?
Yes. Thank you. A couple of things. Obviously, there's one major subject that everybody's thinking about that, and that's the coronavirus. Just so that you know, and I think you probably realize this, but there's somebody, the gentleman sitting at this table right here, plus probably 30 other senior staff level. We're talking to other cities, department heads, we're talking to the hospitals. You know, we're in communication to the highest degree that we know how to. We're trying to evolve into how do we do social distancing in our meetings, whether it's teleconferencing or video conferencing. This is evolving, and I've really been amazed at the progress that's been made in such a short period of time, because we all know that the social distancing and the hand washing are really crucial. I think I'm going to ask George Talbot to maybe tweet out how many times a day the mayor's washing his hands, and that's not so that you interested in how many times I'm washing my hands, but maybe you'll start thinking about washing yours too. And I think as a society, those are the little things that we can do to help keep everybody safe. But in the last 24 hours, I've talked to every head of every hospital in Mobile. I've talked to the former Surgeon General last night. You know, we're downloading and getting plenty of advice on things that we should consider doing. You know, when you have situations like this, rumors are rampant. Somebody hears something and they repeat it, and there's maybe no validity at all to that. And so I would encourage us during this time of the situation that we're currently dealing with, be very, very thoughtful about saying everybody is doing this. You really don't know if everybody is doing this or not, you know, and so be measured in your comments, and especially what you're texting and tweeting and what you're passing on. So what I'm getting ready to tell you, I can tell you firsthand that everybody is not shutting down all their bars and restaurants in the state of Alabama. The governor is probably on the cusp. Actually, she's issued a press release saying that in the area surrounding Jefferson County, they're going to be 5 other counties. It'll be Tuscaloosa, Walker, Blount, St. Clair, and Shelby counties, where they will follow the same protocols in those counties that Jefferson mandated yesterday, and that is they're going to close the restaurants and bars for a period of 7 days. But of those, of those counties, of the 10 largest cities in the state of Alabama, 3 of them lie within that ring around, within those counties. Those would be Tuscaloosa's in that group, Hoover's in that group, and Birmingham is in that group. So I've been in touch with the mayors, the other 7 mayors, and of those 7, 6 of us were on a conference call. None of them, that would include Auburn, Decatur, Huntsville, Madison, Mobile, and Montgomery. None of us are wanting to close down or have the governor close down our bars and restaurants at this point in time, because we see what the restaurant owners and the bar owners are doing. We may get to there, but at this point in time, we know that these individuals that are working, these hospitality workers, are living week to week or every 2 weeks. So don't say that Mobile is the only place there where the mayor is saying, please don't, shut everything down. I will be, after this meeting, I'll call Mark Saliba in Dothan to find out where he stands on this. We are requesting of the governor, on a slightly different note, is that these meetings, we would like to be able to video conference a city councilor in, and right now we aren't allowed to do that by law, and we think the governor is the only one that can change the Open Meetings Act to maybe do that. So by us collaborating as mayors, we are trying to make sure that the wheels of city governments will continue to operate in the smoothest fashion possible. So we have got to be given some leeway to do some things that we heretofore not been able to do. In that regard, you will see that, and you know that thus far the mayor has not declared, that I have not declared a state of emergency in the city of Mobile. And the reason I haven't is because I don't have the authority under our state of emergency statute or ordinance to do that. It was a little bit surprising that we didn't, but what we found out was that the only state of emergency I can declare has to do with a situation with natural disaster and civil unrest. So in the last 24 hours, we've been working with the city council attorney, and we've presented a resolution to address the coronavirus preparedness. And there's been discussion in the pre-council meeting, and what it amounts to is that the mayor will request of the city council that they declare a local public health emergency. And by doing that, then it enables the mayor to do things that you probably perceive that other cities are doing. So this is something that we've worked on jointly. I think that they will pass that. And so keep in mind that our objective is to keep you safe, but also to keep the wheels of government rolling. So thank you very much.
Adoption of the agenda.
I make the motion to adopt the agenda with the one exception, and that is to take out of order resolution, I'm going back to the consent resolution 60-225, the resolution to address the coronavirus preparedness.
Second.
Have been properly moved and second in the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed?
Resolution.
Thank you very much. I have a few more phone calls to make, so I appreciate y'all doing that.
We're going to vote on it.
We got to
right?
vote on it.
Oh, I thought you voted.
No, that's just
Take
take
it
it out
up.
of order.
Oh, you voted to take it up. My bad.
Yeah.
You tell I'm in a hurry.
Consent resolution 60-225.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of consent resolution 60-225.
Second.
Have been properly moved and second in the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Passes.
No, it hadn't passed.
Oh, okay.
60-225, resolution to address coronavirus preparedness.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second in the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Passes.
Let's please get that on the web immediately so people understand what we just did.
So now I can thank you. Thank you very much. And so for the citizens out there, by the action they just have taken, we now have, the city of Mobile has declared that there's a local public health emergency.
Right.
Appreciate it.
The council, while we still on this subject, I would like for our public safety director, James Barber, to come up and address this, what we had just passed and everything.
George, can we get that posted immediately? Thank you.
It is on the city website, okay?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
Mr. President, the administration has requested a minor change to make it a proclamation of emergency, which would change the first paragraph, number 1 of this that I was just handed. So if you would like, I can read it out.
Please do.
All right, the difference is the title is changed to Proclamation of Emergency, and the original paragraph 1 was moved down, and there's a new paragraph number 1 that states that the City Council, on recommendations and findings of the State Health Officer and the Proclamation of Emergency by Governor K. Ivey adopted March 13, 2020, does hereby declare that a public health emergency exists in the city of Mobile. And then it looks like everything else is the same, it's just moved down 1 number. So I think since you've already voted on the other one, a motion to reconsider that and replace it with this version and then adopt that is in order.
I just have to ask, when did we find out? And how did that just happen? We knew we were gonna do this in half an hour ago, and we made all these motions leading up to it. Who wrote it?
Just now. It happened just now. I mean, that's in real time, to answer your question, just now. Motion to reconsider.
Second,
What's on the website?
nothing, well, George, did you put the new one on, or?
He's not in here.
He's not here.
Well, when we get to discussion, we can discuss, but a motion's on the floor.
Been motion and second in the discussions.
No.
What's on the website?
Mr. Chairman, I couldn't answer that question, but I'd imagine it's not this. That'll be taken care of quickly, though.
In this other discussion, council.
Other than we would like to have a copy of,
Yeah.
as soon as possible, of what we're voting on. The up-to-date version. And we're going to ask Madam Clerk to provide that to us. Okay.
Just
Ready for the vote?
Okay,
This is the motion to reconsider.
yeah.
yeah,
Right.
and I think we have a second on the reconsider.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's rescind. I would like for the council to pretty much just look and see exactly what it is before we vote. We can just glance at it.
Mr. Arledge, what's the next motion?
Motion to amend the agenda item to replace the one that was on there with this one. Then immediate consideration, then adopt. Start over, basically.
Director Barber, could you go ahead and just start addressing the council while the council get a chance to look over this before we vote, if you don't mind, please?
Absolutely, Vice President. This will enable especially the city to move forward with emergency procurement as well as take emergency steps to protect the health and safety of both our first responders as well as the community itself. I will tell you that talking to Dr. Bert Eishold, that as of 10:52 this morning, there's been no confirmed cases in Mobile. But only about 1,700 test kits went out throughout the state, and those tests didn't start until Thursday of last week. And so that's why you started to see these tests come in positive on Friday. We expect that it will continue. Talking to the healthcare providers in Mobile, we do have people in the area presenting with corona type, the COVID-19 symptoms. We're just waiting on those tests. We expect that it's a very rapidly evolving situation, and so this actually enables us to move very quickly should we need to. We don't anticipate any curfews at this time, but it certainly gives us a lot of latitude being able to protect both first responders as well as the public health and safety.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
During our pre-conference meeting, we had a lot of back and forth, a lot of questions, but we didn't start live streaming until a little late in the meeting. So if you wouldn't mind just going over again what the plans are for triage or remote testing, off-site testing, screening, that sort of thing, because as we know, some cities have already got drive-through testing, some have tents set up outside hospitals specifically to screen. So just where are we in all of this?
Over the weekend, I was talking to the health department about setting up a drive-through testing center. We were going to do that on this Wednesday, tomorrow. The problem is we don't have the appropriate test kits, and so we don't have enough of these test kits to actually set up. So we're waiting on that to come in before we can begin this. But all the hospitals, as well as the health department, are talking about getting these set up so that we can begin testing in a mass testing of the coronavirus.
Are they going to set up like triage tents, like what Spring Hill has already done with the tent outside their emergency room? Do you know how they're planning to handle everything?
You know, they are trying to triage as much as they can outside. And so what we have talked to them about is there's been some talk about setting these centers up in the parking lots outside the hospital where the testing can occur. The only thing that has really slowed us down in Mobile or in Alabama is the lack of testing kits. And so that's all we're really waiting on. And then we can begin to execute on mass testing within Mobile. I don't have any idea when those will come in. I know they're trying very desperately to get those in there.
Yeah, it seems like I heard yesterday that they're focusing on like 12 cities at first. I guess those are some of the larger cities where there are more hot spots, and then maybe it'll trickle down to some of our smaller cities like Mobile. So in the meantime, of course, people should still, I'll let you handle that.
Well,
What do you do if you
and-
think you have symptoms?
Yeah, you know,
Rather
and some
than
of the
show up in the
symptoms-
emergency room.
Yeah, some of the symptoms that we're especially looking for is fever, cough, you know, nausea and vomiting, but the main thing is the difficulty breathing is what the coronavirus is unique in. And so what the paramedics are doing is we're going to these sick calls and we're testing the blood saturation, oxygen saturation of the individuals. And if that drops below 95, then they certainly need to be transported because their inability to breathe properly. But patients that are just fever and cough without the difficulty breathing are really asked to just quarantine at their homes. There really is no treatment for this. There's no vaccine for it. About the only thing that we can do in the medical field is provide oxygen to those that are having difficulty breathing. And so the hospitals are being inundated right now with people that are scared because they have fever or cough. But unless there's that difficulty breathing, there's no admission because the hospital beds are taken up. And so we do encourage people to call 911 if you have difficulty breathing, but other than that, POV or private ambulance is the proper way to handle it, and just normal health care. And we are trying to protect our exposure of our paramedics as well as police officers to the virus and minimize that, as well as contamination of our ambulances. And so a big issue to make sure our first responders stay healthy so that we can respond to emergency calls.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Ms. Gregory, are you finished?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just, what you just said, I think is very, very important, because one of the things we're trying to do in all of this is to prevent a saturation of our healthcare facilities.
That's right.
And so what I heard you say was, if you got a cough, you got a fever, don't present. Self-quarantine. The only time you should present to get yourself tested or try to get in the hospital or anything is if you have difficulty breathing. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Because they're not going to be able to, in the hospital's not going to be able to give you any meds. The only thing you can get in the hospital is help breathing. So unless you have difficulty breathing, you don't need to present.
That is
right?
correct. And the official stance of the city is to call 911 if that difficulty breathing exists. But for just coughing or fever, we're asking that you not call 911 and tie our paramedics up when they really need to be free to respond to those that really need us.
It's really going to be important in order for us to get over this, for people to behave responsibly. And I think that's an important point on how people can behave responsibly. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I will point out one other thing about what you are having enabled us to do today, is to get to the best we can these decontamination foggers for our ambulances and police cars, and be able to procure certain emergency equipment that we need in order to protect first responders and also protect from contamination to other patients we may transport. And so the issue that we're really having right now is supply for personal protective equipment. And so, but thank y'all for your consideration on this very important issue.
There are some administrative changes going through as well that once everybody's had a chance to look at, we'll
It's just some
we'll have them
wording.
read out. But otherwise,
Pretty simple wording, yeah.
Director Barber, one other question. Do you know approximately when those test kits could come in? Maybe another week, another 2 weeks, and also the second question is, do you know exactly how many tests do we have in this area? Testing kits, that is.
I don't know exactly, very limited supply. And so they're not testing everybody that presents with symptoms. I guess they're doing extreme cases. But I'd say several dozen is all we really have. And so there's very limited supply of it. I know, talking to the Mobile County Health Department, they're going to try to engage a private lab that can test for this, but they're waiting on the proper test swabs in order to do that. And I think what we're finding in the country is that the availability or the supply of different things is what's really causing us the problem. It's not that we haven't thought about it and haven't tried to procure it, it's that it's just very slim supplies. And so the demand is great, and so we are doing our best to get these procured as quickly as possible. And I know the state, again, only 1,700 kits in the entire state, but I do know that the CDC is trying to get those out.
And there's no telling we're going to get more kits in.
No, sir, I'll be glad to check on that and see if we can get some answers from maybe from the CDC. Again, if you imagine the demand on these kits is huge across the country. And so we're certainly, and I do want to explain also, we didn't begin testing until Thursday, so what looks like an outbreak in Alabama is really just us confirming what's already in Alabama. And I think it's safe to assume at this point, talking to healthcare providers, that it is in Mobile. We just haven't confirmed in Mobile yet. As of 10:52 this morning, we've not, but I think the cases in Alabama are up to 36. And if you think back to last Thursday, there were 0. So what might look like an outbreak is really just us confirming what's already here. We really do not know what the denominator is, which is how many people are infected within our country, within our state. And until we do, we really don't know the fatality rate. But they are working very hard. I think all the healthcare providers are working very hard to try to get us some answers. But right now, prevention is our best means of stopping this particular virus. And so all the steps I think that y'all have taken, that the city has taken, are exactly what we should be doing. And some of the empowerment that you gave us on extreme situations we'll be able to handle.
All right, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Mr.
Has
Small,
everybody had a chance to look at it?
Yes, Mr. Williams?
when I make a comment, then I'll make the motion to accept the administrative changes. But let me, first of all, thank the administration for all they're doing. But I want to call a couple things to mind. We heard from the health department, Dr. Eichhold, last week, and he made a comment that just because you want a test doesn't mean you're going to get a test, and that may be for some time. And it's very important that people that have any doubt whatsoever stay home. And this is not my personal opinion. I'm going to recommend that everybody, especially the city council and public leaders around our city and business leaders, go to the CDC website and practice what is being recommended by them. And that is the sole source, and we will attempt to help you clarify as we can, but the city and some doctor that you know should not be your source of how we're going to act in the city, and we ought to act with one voice. The mayor made one comment, and I'd like to echo it, and that is that this is the time when social media can help and hurt. And we, as the same group of leaders, I recommend and urge to be very careful what we like and what we share or what we comment on. I came real close yesterday to hitting something, and I went and fact-checked the idea that if you could hold your breath for 10 seconds, you don't have it. Absolutely disproved. And it is completely untrue that if you drink water, a bunch of it, that you're lessening your chances. So I just ask everybody to go back to the CDC, be careful with social media, and if you don't have to go somewhere, don't go. And now I would like to offer the amendment with the administrative changes that we've all reviewed and ask for a vote on the resolution.
I'll second that.
We're properly moved and motion and second in the discussions. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed?
Appeals, we have requests for waiver of the noise ordinance on March 21st at Public Safety Memorial Park, on March 21st at Bragg Mitchell Mansion, and April the 18th in Bienville Square.
We had some excuse me, Mr. President.
Yes. Mr.
We had
Days.
some discussion on these items at pre-council, and we're informed that the powers we were granting the mayor may resolve some of the concerns we had. Any further comment on this from the administration?
I would just say that one of the items has to do with the wedding coming up on Saturday, the 21st, at the Bragg's Mitchell Mansion, and I recommend we pass that. That is city property. We are not trying to rule on whether or not they can have the wedding, but whether or not they can make noise beyond what is allowed. We are dealing strictly with the noise ordinance, but it may be that the administration may come back to say they can't have the wedding, but that is not what we are taking up here today.
Okay. One second, Mr. Audrey, should we go ahead and motion and second this, then have a discussion on this, on these appeals before we go into a deep discussion? Yeah. So can we get a motion? The motion should be on. Yeah. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Now discussion.
No discussion.
Mr. Richardson, you finished?
No, I'm finished.
Mr. Woods?
No, sir, I was going to echo what Mr. Richardson was saying.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass.
Public hearings. Today is a public hearing to fix the cost for demolition of structures at 959 Gorgas Street, 2908 O'Shell Road, 1961 St. Stephen's Road, and it's also a public hearing to declare the structures at 556 Holcomb Avenue, 1302 Virginia Street, 519 Patton Avenue, 1800 Halls Mill Road, and 1104 Partridge Street, 374 Dunbar Street, and 1162 Brussels Street, 613 Belsaw Avenue, public nuisances, and ordering those demolished.
So, pull up in hearings. Do we have anyone present who want to discuss this? If not, public hearings are closed.
Public hearing to consider approval of a certificate of public convenience and necessity to Chitra May Wilson, doing business as Here and There Non-Emergency Transportation, to operate a shuttle service.
And this is a public hearing. Anyone here to discuss this? If not, this public hearing is closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Reggie Hill.
Mr. Vice President, members of the council, in the absence of our mayor, who I know today is dealing with this global pandemic, to the administration and to the citizens and stakeholders of Mobile, good morning. Reggie Hill, 1007 Center Street. Whew. God has leveled it. God has leveled it. Usually weekly, throughout the year, we come into these chambers, and certain individuals, because of the positions of power that they hold, are given greater regard for the sentiments that they present to this body. But right now, all across this globe, regardless of what position you're in, regardless of what affiliation you're tied to, we are each facing something that has leveled it. And so I ask that you would take heed to this message that is coming directly from him now, as we face and move forward on this together as a city. My prayers and thoughts are with all these families. And
Mr. Hill,
that was a part of what I signed up for. I spoke about how we could tackle this. I put that in my notes. I promise you I'm on top of it, as I am every time I come up here. So again, my prayers are with the individuals as we go through this. I would remind us to be prayerful. That is the thing that is missing here. I hope that we are understanding that our power and dominion over this land calls for that type of enthusiasm from our people. And until we get to doing that, doesn't matter what provisions and things we put in place, that stuff's not going to change. So we're going to have to begin working together and praying together and touching and agreeing so that we can send this spirit of sickness back to the pits of hell from which it came from. Now, I want to take this time as I move forward into what has been the more diplomatic conversations of our city to commend the Vice President and the Public Safety Committee Chairman for killing Ordinance 02045. I believe that was something that would not have moved our city forward. And again, as I expressed last week, I believe that we should have deep consideration for our neighboring communities. Moving on to another portion which I submitted to the city clerk as well. This 5-2 supermajority vote will not change. We have to speak on that. We have to speak on that. That thing cannot change. And the reason why is because we're already violating what the Zombie Act says in the first place, just by the representation of people on the dais. So if we were to eliminate the opportunity for our less fortunate people who may have the majority of the population to have their voices heard, this would set us back even more generations. So we have to fight wherever way we can, not to uphold political ideologies, but rather to look at the progress of our city. Now, I hope that we can actually look into the roots of that with the Zombie Act, because that's very important. And I understand that last week our Public Safety Committee Chairman, he had some reservations with the sheriff. I believe any person who can present a solution should be able to do it. So I'm not feeling any reservations with the presentation. I just have reservations with the context, and I hope that we each look into that moving forward. I want to take this time to commend the Chief of Police here in the City of Mobile. Since 2016, I've come down here wanting to speak with members of this administration. It's been very hard to do that. But the Chief of Police, who often is at the forefront of a lot of issues that he has no control over, has had an open ear for us to hear things. But today, because of this situation that is going on, we had to cancel the meeting. Now, this is something that I want us to look at, and I want us to look at very, very clearly. I'm praying that we will be able to have that meeting going forward. But right now, come Thursday, our public schools will be closed. We don't have a plan in place to eradicate juvenile delinquency when the kids are in school. We always have this notion that we're putting it off to the school system. Well, now they're going to be out of school, roaming the streets of the city. So in the same regard that we have meeting with all these other specialists and experts on how we deal with this pandemic, we need to be looking at how we're going to tackle that issue as well. Because now they're going to have the full day to do whatever it is that they please to do. And we just had a notification sent out that it's closing the community centers. So not only are our schools closed, our communities closed. So I'm going to urge this administration, Mr. Chairman, particularly our Public Safety Director, to allow the chief to keep that meeting so that we can move forward, so that we can put people at the table who actually have resolutions to do that, who have data that's been proven to eradicate these problems. Because right now, we have to keep the city business going. And I know it's tough for people to talk about that in the midst of all these other things that are happening, but we have to continue working as a city. And this is a major concern that we're going to have. So right now, those young people are the concern of this council, are the concern of this city. And so we need to be working with the folks who know how to handle that, because that's something we'll have to look at too. Now this, someone may call an overreach, but we're having an idea that on April the 1st, food stamps in certain areas are going to be cut off. I meet with the lady who is running SNAP on the 3rd Wednesday of every week. So with this coming, and we know that something's going to be cut off which really impacts this city, that's even more room for things to happen in this city that I don't believe we're prepared for. Not that we can't be, not that we don't have the capable minds in the city to be prepared for it. But until we allow those meetings to take place, it will not get solved. And it's only going to get worse. And I'll be done after this comment. I was able to meet with the chief on the 3rd of this month. And I told him that success for the future is not allowed to sit at the table to help eradicate these problems. Not because we are so different from anybody else in here. This is just our attention. This is what we focus on. Everybody in here has different focuses. We focus on these matters. If we're not allowed to be at the table to help with these decisions, it's only going to get worse. It took 2 days. 2 days. 2 days. So this is a fair warning right here as well. I'm thankful that God has allowed us to speak. The people. I'm thankful for you all taking the responsibility to even stand in the forefront of scrutiny for our city. You may not believe it, but I seriously am. But until, again, we start working with everybody who is committed to the progress of this city moving forward, it's only going to get worse. My prayers are with you. I hope that you will heed this information that has been shared and let us move for the progress of the city of Mobile. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, Mr. Vice President.
Ordinance is held over. 64007, rezone property located at 758 Downtown Boulevard, 4312 Midmost and 4312 Midmost Drive, from B2 and B3 to B3.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes.
CIP resolutions held over 21-190 and 191. Authorized contract with McCoy Williams for the Halls Mill Road and Demetropolis Road intersection improvement project. And 21-191, authorized contract with Speaks and Associates Consulting Engineers to perform engineering services for 2020 CIP Slava Creek Drainage Improvements Construction Engineering Inspection.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes.
Resolutions held over 01-191, authorized agreement with Barton Academy Foundation to rehabilitate and restore Barton Academy. 08-193, approved purchase order to Gray Bar Electric for decorative aluminum light poles. 23-194, accept deed from Thomas and Elisha Neese for 3 parcels for the 3 Mile Creek Greenway. 25-195, grant sewer easements and temporary construction easements to Mars for 3 Mile Creek sewer trunk line.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes,
Mr.
Mr. Richardson.
President, I would just like to say that we discussed 195 at pre-council this morning, and my concern was whether or not Mars will replant trees where they took trees out in the Tricentennial Park. And it has been successfully negotiated. Mars has agreed that they would put trees back consistent to the number that they took out in Tricentennial Park. So that is a big win for us. I appreciate Mars taking this position, and I appreciate Mr. DeLapp for negotiating this for us.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes.
Ordinance is being introduced, 22-008 through 02-009.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of ordinance 02009 and 22008 will hold over 1 week pursuant to council rules.
Second.
Wait, are we?
Yeah, we're going to take it up.
We're going to take up.
We're going to take up 9 and 8
Yeah.
will wait.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
We got a second?
We
Yes.
did. We have a second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
02009, ordinance to amend section 2-56 of the city code regarding presentation of petitions and other communications to the council.
So moved.
Second.
There's been motion and properly second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Consent resolutions being introduced, 40-198 through 60-212.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of resolutions 4198 through 6225.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion?
We've already dealt with 6225 through 6212.
Oh, yeah. Yes, 60, yeah, 212.
Okay.
With the exception of 6212.
Gregory second.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
4200 has to be laid over for 60 days, so I'll skip that one, okay?
Right.
40-198, 199, 201, 202, 203, 204 and 205 are declaring structures public nuisances and ordering them demolished. 556 Holcomb Avenue, 1302 Virginia Street, 1800 Halls Mill Road, 1104 Partridge Street, 374 Dunbar Street, 1162 Brussels Street, and 613 Belsall Avenue. 40206, 207, and 208 are fixing the cost for demolition of structures at 959 Garga Street, 2908 O'Shell Road, 1961 St. Stephen's Road. 58209 assessed cost for removal of weeds, Weedling Group, 1595. 6210 determine an appropriation to Mobile Baykeepers serves a public purpose and approve payment. 6211 approve award of special bonus to firefighter of the month, Fire Service Captain David Calhoun. And 6212 approve award of special bonus to the officer of the month as part of the mayor's incentive program, Stephen Guidry.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
4200 declare the structure at 519 Patton Avenue a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Move delay over 60 days.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes.
CIP resolutions being introduced 01213 through 21217.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of 09214, 21215, and the remainder lay over 1 week pursuant to council rules.
Second.
It been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
09214 reallocate $6,000 from Government Street signal improvements to congestion management project Government Street from Broad Street to Bankhead Tunnel. 21215 authorized contract with Terracon Consultants Geotech Engineering for 2020 CIP at Slava Creek drainage improvements, $21,035.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. In the discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Resolutions being introduced 01218 through 37222.
Said resolutions will hold over 1 week pursuant to council rules.
Call for public hearings 41223. Call for public hearing to consider approval of a certificate of public convenience and necessity to Charles Copeland, doing business as Gata Cab, to operate a taxi cab service scheduled March 31st. 41224, call for public hearing for determination of the formation of the Mobile Tourism Improvement District scheduled April 14th.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Announcements.
All right, we're going to start with District 1. Councilman Fred Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. President. My comments this morning will be relegated to the COVID virus. And I would just like to say to the citizens in District 1 and indeed the citizens all over Mobile to take the necessary precautions to protect yourself. We know that we have been advised against large gatherings. The last I heard from the Center for Disease Control, it says a gathering larger than 50. That's the last official delegation I've seen coming from them. They've delegated 50, less than 50 people. And social distancing, not to congregate up under. If you have to go, don't congregate close to other persons. Find a distance, sanitize. Wherever you go, wash your hands. It has been said that what puts this virus out of the league of just the flu is that this virus starts from your mouth down. The flu starts from your head, from your nose and all of that. No. That's why they keep saying wash your hands, because if you're gonna, most times when you're gonna put something to your food, to your mouth, it's gonna, either if it's bread, most instances you're gonna pick the bread up and put it in your mouth. Make sure when you are eating, you wash your hands and wash your face, because you're trying to stop it from getting in your systems. The council has passed a local health emergency, giving the mayor broad powers if it becomes necessary, and including a curfew. It's not necessary now, but the governor, the 5 counties surrounding Birmingham, she has already had issued strong restrictions in those counties regarding opening of restaurants and bars. We haven't gotten to that. But as we move on, by this time next week, we don't know what we'll be doing. But we have given the mayor power and authority to do what is necessary to protect the citizens in the city of Mobile. So stay alert. If you want to know what's going on, you can go to the council website, because as these events unfold, you can go to the city's website, go to the council's website, go to my Facebook page. As I get it, I am posting it. As a matter of fact, when we passed the local health emergency, I photocopied it with my telephone and I uploaded it to Facebook. Stay alert, do what you know you need to do. Don't congregate unless it's necessary. I think we're going to all be all right. Thank you.
District 4, Councilman Williams.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to encourage everyone to, while they're at home or wondering what they ought to be doing right now, is to take one of the 2 envelopes that was sent to your house, starting yesterday, maybe even the day before, and take 15 minutes to complete the census. There is nothing in there that you're going to give them that they don't already have. And it took me less than 15 minutes on my laptop. I don't know about mobile devices, but it is absolutely simple. The instructions are very good, and the site that it takes, that you go to, the My 2020 Census website, is just fantastic. So please take the time, do it now, do it today. Your census response is absolutely critical to the future of the city and to our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, for that. District 5, Councilman Joel Days. All right. And District 7, Gregory.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I had been planning to hold a District 7 meeting. We had looked at March 31st, had to move that to April 8th. Chances are very good we will be postponing until sometime later in the, maybe the summer, to finally get to hold our meeting, and certainly we will let everybody know. I'll send out some information on my newsletter about things that are coming up and going on in the district in the meantime, so that people are not left out and have questions about, projects that will continue to be worked, and things that are ongoing in the city and in the district, so that they will be updated. A couple of other things. For folks who do have questions, who are not sure where to go, get inundated with emails and things, if you have any questions, like Mr. Richardson said, you can always contact us, and we can share with you the links where you can get the proper information. I also want to make sure that people remember to send to mobile.org or info@mobile.org to get your information into one succinct area, so that you know what businesses are open, what events are postponed or canceled. It's always good to have one central place where you can share information, where we can send people to get that information as well. So thank you again for doing that. The city and the council both have Facebook pages. We also have websites, so please, check those out for any information that you need. And also, as a reminder, we're all impatient. We're all, unfortunately, in a bit of a panic sometimes when we go to the grocery store or even try to go to our doctors or dock in the boxes or anything else. So please remember to be kind and be patient to all those folks who are working in the grocery stores and to all of the healthcare people who are working to try to keep us safe. Without them, we're in a lot of trouble. So just please remember to be kind and be patient, and we will all weather this storm in the best way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gregory. I'd like to piggyback behind my colleagues. While we have not yet had any cases confirmed here in Mobile, as our public safety director has stated earlier, it's possible that there are cases here already. With that being said, I'm hoping that all our citizens are very cautious and closely follow the recommendation that is made by the CDC and the Alabama Department of Public Health. The most important thing is our health and the safety of our citizens. And I'm so happy that my colleagues and I have passed an emergency ordinance to allow us to take additional steps to ensure that we are able to continue to conduct the business of our city while protecting our city and citizens and our city staff. And also, thank you, Mr. Williams, for also mentioning about the census report, and that's something that we should remind our citizens really weekly to make sure that they fill out those census report. And it's kind of sad of me to even say this right here, that we was participating in having our 8th annual Easter egg hunt, but because of the circumstances that's going on for right now, it is postponed. Additional with the grand reopening of the playground at Tremere Park, we will postpone that also, hopefully very soon, that we can give another date when all this stuff quiets down and everything. Anything from the administration? Do I get a second?
I would have one comment to say. We put a notice out yesterday, maybe put one out before that, asking our citizens not to come down unless it is an emergency. We had 9 visitors today, and let me say they honored our request. They didn't rush down here, and I think that is just great.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Means adjourned.